Welcome, dear listener, to a journey into the heart of Greek mythology. Tonight, we open the gates to an age before heroes, before cities, before Olympus shone in the heavens. This is the story of the Titanomachy, the struggle between the Titans and the rising Olympian gods. It is not a tale of endless battles, but of transformation, courage, and destiny. In the beginning, the Titans ruled, vast and timeless, shaping the world with their presence. Yet every reign faces change, and whispers of prophecy foretold the rise of a new order. From this prophecy came a child, hidden from Cronus his father, and nurtured in secret. That child was Zeus. In caves and mountains, Zeus grew strong in spirit, bold in vision, and guided by fate. He was not alone, for his brothers and sisters rose beside him, each bearing their own gift. Together, they dreamed of balance, a brighter order for gods and for mortals alike. And so, the stage was set for the greatest turning of ages the world had ever known. Long before Olympus crowned the sky, before Zeus raised his voice like thunder, there was an older order, vast and unshakable. It was the age of the Titans. The Titans were not like the Olympians we know today. They were colossal beings, woven into the fabric of nature, shaping the world simply through their existence. Their presence brought stability, but also great weight, like mountains pressing upon the earth. They were both guardians and burdens of creation. At the center of their reign stood Cronus, son of Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth. He rose to power through prophecy and ruled with determination. Cronus was not just a ruler, he embodied time itself. The ticking of moments, the passing of seasons, the slow rhythm of destiny, all moved with him. By his side was Rhea, his queen, dignified yet sorrowful. She was the mother of gods, but her children bore a heavy fate, shaped by fear and prophecy. For Cronus feared what was foretold. A child of his own blood would one day rise and end his reign. This whisper of destiny haunted his throne. Each time Rhea bore a child, Cronus swallowed them, hiding them within himself, as though he could silence fate by denying it form. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, all swallowed, yet alive. They waited, silent within him, shadows of a future not yet lost. The world under Cronus became still. Time moved, yet without renewal. The air seemed to hold its breath, as though waiting for change. But even in silence, destiny stirs. Even in stillness, change waits, like a seed beneath winter soil. When Rhea bore her youngest son, she made a choice that would alter everything. This child was Zeus. Unlike his siblings, Zeus was hidden away. Rhea carried him in secret to a cave on the island of Crete, far from Cronus's sight. In that cave, surrounded by whispering trees and echoing stone, nymphs and guardians sheltered the infant with tenderness and care. They fed him honey and milk, sang lullabies, and filled the air with the sounds of devotion. The world itself seemed to guard its future king. To mask his cries from Cronus, the Curetes danced in armor, clashing their shields. Their clanging rose like thunder, protecting the boy with sound. Meanwhile, the Titans believed their reign eternal, vast and unbroken. They held their places, unaware that change was already stirring in secret. The age of the Titans remained mighty, built on stone, time, and will. Yet every reign carries within it the seed of transformation. Cronus ruled the present, but far away, a child was growing into the future. Zeus, destined to rise, was the spark of a new dawn. The Titans' age was not yet over, but the first crack in its foundation had formed. The story of gods was turning to a new page. In the stillness of the Titans' reign, hope flickered quietly. Destiny had already set its path, and at the heart of it stood Rhea, queen and sorrowful mother. Her children were taken by Cronus, one by one, swallowed by fear. Each time she gave life, her arms remained empty, though her heart overflowed with love. Cronus feared the prophecy of his downfall. It whispered that one child would rise against him, and so he acted not with strength, but with fear disguised as power. When Rhea carried her sixth child, she could no longer endure the cycle of loss. Her sorrow was too heavy, her longing too deep. This child would be saved. She sought her mother, Gaia, the earth itself, ancient and wise. Gaia listened and offered a plan, for destiny cannot be silenced, and hope must find its way. On the day of birth, Rhea gave life to her youngest son. His first cry was strong, yet soft, echoing the promise of tomorrow. This child was Zeus. Cronus came, demanding the infant, but Rhea offered him a stone, wrapped in swaddling cloth, its weight disguised as her child. Cronus swallowed it, blind to truth. Meanwhile, Rhea carried Zeus away, her steps heavy with fear and hope. She crossed the sea to Crete, where mountains rose, like guardians of the future. In a hidden cave, she entrusted Zeus to nymphs and caretakers. They fed him honey and milk, their songs wrapping him in tenderness, as nature guarded its king. The Curetes, armored dancers, protected the secret. They leapt and clashed their shields, thunderous rhythms masking the cries of the child, veiling him from Cronus's ears. Beneath their noise, Zeus grew in safety. Each lullaby, each beat of the shield was a shield of love and fate, carrying him toward the future. The stars above the cave seemed to shine brighter, as if watching over him. The earth below hummed softly, singing the song of destiny that could not be stopped. The Titans still reigned, vast and strong. Yet, far from their sight, the seed of change had taken root. A hidden child carried the promise of a new dawn. Rhea, parted from her son, carried hope within her heart. She knew he lived, growing stronger, and in that truth, she found courage to endure her sorrow. For now, Zeus was only a child, unaware of the weight he would bear. Yet whispers of his future stirred as the world turned silently toward transformation. The birth of Zeus was more than a child's arrival. It was the arrival of change itself. The age of Titans, though mighty, would not last forever. Hidden in the cave of Crete, Zeus grew in strength and spirit, cared for by nymphs who told him stories of rivers, mountains, and the endless sky. His laughter echoed through the cave, his cries masked by the shield-clashing dance of the Curetes. Even as a child, the air around him felt alive with promise. Years passed, and his body grew strong with honey, milk, and care. Yet it was not only his body that grew, it was his vision and sense of destiny. Far away, trapped in Cronus's belly, his siblings endured. Hestia, the steady flame, Demeter, the giver of harvest, Hera, the regal, Hades, the deep, and Poseidon, the sea's master. Though distant, Zeus felt their presence. In dreams he heard faint voices, bound to him by Rhea's love. Blood and fate connected them across silence. Gaia, the ancient earth, whispered wisdom to him, patience of mountains, rhythm of rivers, resilience of trees. Power, she taught, was balance, not brute force. Climbing the mountains of Crete, Zeus gazed at the open sky. He dreamed of freedom, of a world beyond hiding, where he and his kin could stand tall. The nymphs told him of Rhea's sacrifice and Cronus's fear. He listened, his heart heavy with sorrow, yet bright with resolve. Destiny was calling. He knew he could not walk the path alone. To fulfill destiny, he must free his brothers and sisters, and together shape a new order. He envisioned Hestia warming homes, Demeter bringing abundance, Hera guiding with strength, Hades guarding hidden depths, Poseidon commanding the seas. Their bond was more than blood, it was the foundation of renewal. The Titan's weight could be replaced not by destruction, but by harmony. The earth itself seemed to agree. When Zeus walked, the ground stirred. When he spoke, the air carried his words. When he looked up, the sky opened to him. In time, his courage became leadership. The nymphs who once rocked him to sleep now honored his growing authority. The Curetes danced in celebration. Yet Zeus remained humble. He saw himself not as a conqueror, but as a guardian. The future was not his alone, but shared with those who would follow. The rise of the young Olympians began quietly, in the resolve of a boy who dreamed of freedom, and in the unbroken bonds of siblings. Zeus was no longer the hidden infant in the cave. He was the first light of dawn. Soon, the world would know the strength of the Olympians. In the halls of the Titans, Cronus ruled, yet unease shadowed his throne. The prophecy lingered, like a whisper in the dark he could not silence. He had swallowed his children to secure his reign, but deep within, he knew destiny cannot be devoured. The stars themselves seemed restless, alive with urgency. The winds shifted and carried whispers across the earth. The prophecy was awake, waiting for its time. Cronus walked his halls with suspicion heavy on his shoulders. He looked at Rhea with doubt, fearing she still hid secrets. Rhea, though weary, carried hope. She trusted her youngest, Zeus, was safe beyond Cronus's sight. On Crete, Zeus had grown into a god of vision and resolve. He learned strength from mountains, wisdom from earth, and courage from the skies. But knowledge alone was not enough. He needed a plan bold enough to face a Titan. One night, under countless stars, Gaia came to him in a dream. Her voice was the hum of the earth, steady and unshakable. "Child of prophecy," she said, "your time draws near. Cronus's downfall lies within." Zeus listened with reverence. Gaia told him of Metis, goddess of wisdom and cunning. "She will guide you," Gaia said. "With wit, not force, the path will appear." When Metis came, her presence was calm as starlight. She saw not just his power, but his purpose. She spoke softly, weaving a tapestry of strategy. "To defeat Cronus," she said, "you must act with cunning, not with battle, but with wit, not with blood, but with truth." Zeus felt his heart stir. Metis revealed her plan, an elixir to compel Cronus to release what he had swallowed. Hope rose within Zeus. It meant freedom for his lost siblings. The bond of destiny tightened around him. He would not face Cronus with strength, but with wisdom, patience, and courage to trust in allies. In secret, Metis prepared the potion. She mixed mountain herbs, waters from hidden springs, and whispers of divine craft. Each drop shimmered with quiet power. Zeus watched, his resolve growing. He was no longer a hidden child, but a leader ready to claim his destiny. His destiny was not his alone. When the potion was ready, Zeus lifted his gaze to the stars. Their light felt steady, guiding, unwavering. Soon, he would face the Titan, who was his father. In the halls of the Titans, Cronus sat uneasily on his throne. The weight of time pressed on him, though he had tried to devour it. Shadows whispered in corners he could not silence. The prophecy had not been ended. It was alive, and it was coming. With courage in his heart and wisdom at his side, Zeus prepared to act. Soon, Cronus would drink from the cup Metis had prepared. And when he did, the world would change forever. The prophecy was no longer a whisper. It was fire in Zeus's spirit, a tide rising to its moment. The plan was more than strategy. It was hope made real. With that hope, the young Olympian stood ready to step into destiny. The time had come. Zeus carried the potion shaped by Metis, blessed by Gaia. Each drop shimmered like starlight, a key to unlock what Cronus had swallowed. The halls of the Titans were vast, echoing with shadows of pride and fear. Cronus sat on his throne, a ruler of presence but unease, haunted by prophecy. When Zeus entered, he came not as a son seeking vengeance, but as destiny itself. Cronus, suspicious yet unaware, allowed him near, curious of his purpose. Metis had taught him, approach as ally, not enemy. Zeus offered the potion as a gift. Its glow was faint, but within it lay the power of fate. Cronus lifted the cup, believing himself master of destiny. Yet fate was already in motion, winding through each shimmering drop he swallowed without knowing. The potion worked gently, not with violence, but with release. A force stirred within Cronus, undoing what fear had bound. Silenced voices stirred awake. Hestia emerged first, warm as the hearth, steady and calm. Demeter followed, her touch carrying the promise of growth, fields, and life's abundance. Then Hera, radiant and regal, her presence commanding as a queen. From the depths rose Hades, solemn and thoughtful, keeper of the unseen realms. Finally, Poseidon, vast and untamed, with the surge of the seas within him. They rose not as broken remnants, but as gods reborn, radiant and whole. The chamber trembled with their divine presence. Cronus faltered, shaken by the truth he had tried to deny. The prophecy now stood before him. Zeus turned to his siblings, their eyes meeting for the first time. Though separated by years and shadow, recognition was instant, as if souls had waited. Hestia's calm steadied them. Demeter's warmth comforted them. Hera's strength inspired them. Hades' depth grounded them. Poseidon's energy surged like waves breaking free. At their center stood Zeus, once the youngest, now their leader. He had risked everything to free them. In gratitude, they pledged their loyalty to him. For the first time, the Olympians stood together. This was more than reunion. It was the birth of a new order, a gathering of destined powers. Cronus watched in disbelief. The future he had tried to swallow had risen before him, brighter than he could contain. Prophecy was no longer distant. The siblings turned to Zeus. His voice carried calm strength. We are free. Together, we bring balance where there was fear, not to destroy, but to renew. His words were steady, carrying truth. In that moment, the Olympians claimed their place in the story of the cosmos. No longer hidden, they were a chorus. The world stirred in answer. Earth, seas, and skies awaited the shaping hands of those who had been freed. It was the dawn of a new age. For now, victory was theirs. Zeus had fulfilled his promise. Rhea's children stood reborn as Olympians, and together they prepared for the trials yet to come. The halls of the Titans no longer belonged only to Cronus. They were filled with new light, the light of destiny fulfilled. The great struggle had begun. The Olympians were free, but freedom was not enough. Cronus and the Titans still ruled, their power vast, their shadows long across the cosmos. Zeus knew they could not stand alone. To face the Titans, they would need allies. Without unity, the prophecy would remain unfulfilled. Gaia, ancient and eternal, whispered to Zeus in dreams. Her voice rustled like leaves, her presence steady as stone. She urged him to seek hidden powers. She spoke of those forgotten in the depths, cast away by Cronus out of fear. Their strength, once suppressed, could now tip the balance of fate. So Zeus led his siblings down into Tartarus. It was no ordinary prison, but a realm of shadows, where time dissolved and cries of the lost echoed. There, bound in chains, lay the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires. Once mighty, now weary. Their forms still carried the promise of power untold. The Olympians approached with caution. Zeus stepped forward, his voice calm yet resolute, carrying not command but respect. You suffer not for what you did, he said, but for what Cronus feared you could become. Join us, and together we will shape a new order. The Cyclopes raised their single eyes. Their gaze shone like suns breaking through storm clouds. We will forge for you, they thundered. The Hecatoncheires rumbled, vast and unyielding. We will stand beside you, not as servants, but as allies. Let the Titans tremble. Chains fell away, and the freed ones stretched tall, their power shaking the very roots of Tartarus. The Olympians welcomed them as kin. The Cyclopes began their great work. From Earth's heart they drew fire and metal, shaping gifts for those who would face the Titans. For Zeus, they forged the thunderbolt, lightning bound in his hand, the weapon of the sky. For Poseidon, the trident, vast as the seas. For Hades, they crafted the helm of invisibility, a shadowed crown to move unseen. Each gift carried trust, not just power. With these gifts, the Olympians grew stronger. No longer only siblings, they were leaders of a cause greater than themselves. But Cronus was not blind. From his throne, he felt destiny stir. He called the Titans, warning of the storm rising against them. The war was no longer prophecy. It was near, and all creation braced for what was to come. Yet for now, the Olympians stood ready. They had allies, weapons, and unity. The age of waiting was over. The age of conflict was about to begin. The prophecy lingered for years, but now it stirred into reality. The Olympians were no longer hidden children. They were free, united, and ready to rise. The world held its breath. Clouds gathered in the skies. The seas churned restlessly. The earth trembled with the footsteps of allies, long forgotten. Zeus gripped his thunderbolt, sparks flashing in the air. It was more than a weapon. It was the sign that destiny had awakened. From Mount Othrys, Cronus gathered the Titans. Hyperion blazed like the Sunday Oceanus surged with waters. Coeus, Crius, and Iapetus stood firm, unyielding. The Olympians chose Mount Olympus as their seat. Across the valleys they looked to Othrys, knowing the space between would become the field of destiny. Zeus raised his voice. "This is not vengeance," he said. "It is balance. The old order ruled through fear. The new shall rise through unity." His words steadied hearts. Fear lingered, yet resolve burned stronger. None knew the cost ahead, but all knew the struggle had to begin. The first clash came with thunder. Zeus hurled his bolt. Lightning split the skies. The roar shook the heavens, declaring the war had begun. The Titans answered. Hyperion's fire blazed. Oceanus surged with endless waves. Crius and Coeus shifted stars with their might. The Hecatoncheires hurled boulders like falling mountains. The Cyclops' gifts flared with divine force. The land groaned beneath the strain. Forests bent in storm winds. Rivers twisted their course. Mountains cracked open. The world itself bore the weight of awakening powers. Amid the chaos, awe arose. Hera's presence shone regal, steadying allies. Demeter spread life even on battlefields. Hestia's flame warmed weary spirits. Hades moved unseen, cloaked by his helm. His silence was strength, a reminder of shadows that guard even in the heart of conflict. Cronus watched from Othrys. His children stood, revealed in full power. Fear stirred in him, but pride hardened his will. The clash ended without victory. The Titans returned to Othrys, shaken yet unbroken. The Olympians withdrew to Olympus, weary yet resolute. Between the mountains lay scars, rivers altered, valleys torn, earth reshaped. The land itself bore witness to the first clash of gods. Night fell. The Olympians gathered. Zeus's thunderbolt glowed faintly, sparks reflecting in the eyes of his siblings and allies. He spoke with steady voice. The Titans will not yield quickly. This war will not end in a day, nor in a year. But we will not falter. A hush followed, heavy with fear and hope. Above them, the stars shone cold and bright. The great war had begun, and the cosmos would never be the same. The war raged on, year after year, until a decade passed. Skies split with lightning, seas churned, and the earth bore scars that would never fade. On Mount Othrys, Cronus commanded the Titans. They were ancient, born of Uranus and Gaia, older than the stones. Their strength was raw, drawn from the forces of creation. Hyperion blazed with fire like the Sunday Oceanus, unleashed endless torrents. Coeus and Crius bent the stars with their might. The earth trembled under their power. On Mount Olympus, the younger gods stood firm. Zeus hurled thunderbolts with growing mastery. Poseidon shook mountains with his trident. Hades moved unseen, cloaked in shadows. The sisters Hera, Demeter, and Hestia anchored their allies. Hera's presence steadied. Demeter spread life even on the battlefield. Hestia's flame gave warmth to weary spirits. The gifts of the Cyclops turned the tide. Zeus held the thunderbolt. Poseidon the trident. Hades the helm. Each weapon burned with divine force. The Hecatoncheires, once bound in chains, now hurled boulders like mountains. Their roars split the skies. With each strike, The Titans faltered. Cronus swung his scythe with dread power, but his children no longer feared him. They were gods of Olympus, united, stronger than ever before. The earth shook as rivers twisted their paths. Forests fell. The heavens trembled. Yet amid the chaos, a new truth rose. The Olympians fought for the future. Zeus's voice thundered over the battlefield. "This is the hour of change. The old ways end tonight." His words carried power greater than lightning. The Olympians surged forward with allies at their side. The Hecatoncheires hurled mountains. The Cyclops' gifts flared. The Titans staggered beneath the storm. Hyperion's fire dimmed. Oceanus's waters retreated. Coeus and Creus faltered as Zeus's will bent the stars. The strength of the Titans waned. Cronus resisted, his scythe flashing, but the tide had turned. Weary, broken, the Titans were cast down into Tartarus, bound far from the light of Olympus. It was not vengeance, but justice. The Titans were not destroyed. They were confined, their power sealed away, their reign ended. Silence followed. The war was over. The age of the Titans closed, and a new age dawned, the age of the Olympians. On Olympus, the siblings gathered. No longer children, no longer shadows. They were rulers, guardians, and stewards of a reborn cosmos. Zeus lifted his thunderbolt high. "We are the stewards of this world. Together we will guard it. Together we will guide it." And so the Titanomachy ended. From the fires of struggle, a new order was born. Olympus rose as the beacon of a new age. The Great War had closed one chapter, but from its ashes came a brighter beginning. The heavens shone with the promise of Olympus.